All right, guys, I'm out here today because, well, yesterday wife wanted to go out to dinner and I was kind of burnt out. It was a really long week. Um, Worked a lot of late nights, worked a lot of weekends, and this is kind of like my one weekend off. Even though yesterday I was at the shop running the engine. You guys heard all about that in the last video. But I cleaned this up, and let me tell you, I use like the heavy-duty engine degreaser, wire brushes. You know what worked the best? Kerosene. If you have enough ventilation, get the K2 or the K1, the clean burning one that you would use like in a heater. That stuff did an awesome job of getting all the grime and grease off of the diff, which it's been in service for many years. It needed a cleanup. So you can see we're down to like the surface rust, which I like to see. I got the Valspar anti-corrosion brush-on paint, which is very much like their brand of Rust-Oleum. So Valspar is just another paint manufacturer out there. So I'm going to clean up a couple things yet and tape off our breather, tape off the spherical lens here. I'm going to clean up the cover a little bit more, even though it came out really nice. Clean that as well. We're going to tape that off. We're going to tape the axle lens off, put some newspaper around them or foil. Same thing on the yoke, and we're going to bring some life into this thing. I'm still really on the fence on whether or not I want to put it in. Again, part of my reasoning behind that is one, less work, and two, you know, I've only done one season of racing. I should probably keep my car the same and not change anything, because obviously with a 430 gear, the car is going to come off the line a lot differently, and I don't want to have another year of struggles. I already know going into this year of racing what I need to do. Just pretty much keep the car the same. But I will, at some point, maybe put it in for testing purposes. And eventually, when I'm ready to put that kind of effort and time into the car to, you know, adjust for that change. Because it will be a learning curve all over again, changing from a 390 to a 430. I mean, the 60-foot time is going to change. The way the chassis reacts is going to change. It's a very aggressive gear change. So either way, I'll let you guys go. I just wanted to show you guys how well this cleaned up. We're down to the bare bones of it. You still see some old paint, but I'm not worried about that. There was undercoating, I believe, on here at some point. I cleaned a lot of that off. We're down to the... And this is another reason why I actually like kerosene. It dries off very, very nice. But even after that, guys, a little tip. So I used the kerosene in a bottle, sprayed it down. I used a red Scotch Brite pad after I wire brushed all the heavy stuff off. Because if you use a drill, which I did buy bits for the drill, you're just going to smear it. And then spray away glass cleaner. Works really, really good as a very, very basic degreaser. Some guys in the paint industry actually use this as a like Prepsol, like pre-cleaner. And it works very good. So this is actually, I did after using the kerosene, I did hit it with the glass cleaner, and then I just kind of grabbed a rag and dabbed it all up. And this is actually after everything dried off. This is what it looks like. So there's no residue left over. The kerosene also does dry off fairly good if it's, as long as it's, you know, not too greasy. Because if you got big grease chunks, the kerosene will just kind of reactivate that grease and just keep it, you know, chunky. So hopefully for you guys at home cleaning stuff and doing stuff, you can always go to the Do It To It as well and just unload it. But I'm here in my garage and I already cleaned off the floor and everything. But we'll let you guys go. All right, so we're ready. I got everything taped off. The edges of the diff cover, the spherical lens, the bearing ends on the outer portion, the yoke. And again, we're brushing this on so it's not going to make a big mess. I'm not spraying it or anything. This is what I'm using for paint. I love red oxide primer. A big reason for that is if you miss anything, you'll definitely see it. And not only that, when doing cars, the red oxide primer has a high content of like talc. And there's another pigment in there that really, even in rattle can form, when you use like a red oxide primer, it's going to be thicker than your black, your white, or your gray primers if you're using like a rattle can spray. So I've always liked red oxide primer. Plus, the look is always awesome. Like when I see a car in red oxide primer, I get all nostalgic because I always love that look. So either way, I'm gonna let you guys go for a quick second, and then we're gonna do like half of it. I'm gonna do half, show you guys how it's turning out. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right, guys, check that out. I did half of it. I kind of got that ear too, but whatever. So you can see we've added a lot of nice curb appeal to this piece. Obviously, the beauty of these like oil-based enamels is that they do kind of level off as they dry. They're pretty thick. So if you guys think about it, this is the type of paint they use for outdoor furniture. It can't be thin. So this stuff's pretty durable. I'd call it like the poor man's powder coating because like when you put it on, it thickens up. I mean, our engine hoist, which is actually my shop's engine hoist, was painted in the hammer finish Rust-Oleum. And I mean, it's so durable. This thing was done maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I've used it a lot, and it's still holding up. And well, that's the idea here. We're cleaning it up. And I wanted to do like a silver hammer finish like that, but you know what? I decided on the semi-gloss. So for now, I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like partway through. And I'm just using chip brushes. Again, $12 can of primer, $12 can of paint. And since I'm doing it on jack stands, I am rotating it, and I went back and I touched it up. And once it's in the car, if I got marks from the jack stands, I'll go ahead and I'll just touch them up with a brush. Easy peasy, right? So I'm going to finish this up, get it all in primer, let it sit for a few hours. I got my heater facing towards it to help things out. It's nice outside, but it's not that warm. It's not that warm in here either. So I'm trying to get things to dry off. Maybe we'll be able to put some paint on it tonight. And if not, then we'll follow it up when we're ready for that. So we'll touch base in a bit. All right, so I'm going to do this video real fast because my phone is running low on battery, and it's going to take a little longer to dry. It is about 65 degrees in the garage right now, but it's still ambiently cooler, I guess, if you would. Either way, we're in primer. It's going to take, I'm probably going to let this stuff dry overnight. It's actually supposed to be kind of warm this week, so I'll probably come out here during the week one night, give it a coat of paint. I ended up getting semi-gloss black. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, this thing looks really good. The diff cover, I don't know if I did one of that before, that it cleaned up really well. It's still drying, so it's still a little shinier than it should be. It should dull out once it's dry. It's pretty dry to the touch right now, but I don't want to put anything on top of it and risk the chance of reactivating the paint underneath it and then it like lifts. Even though it's compatible paint, that's why you give it time to dry. I'm not going to rush it at this point because it cleaned up really well. We're down to like the stock pitting, if you will, from years of abuse and service and regular vehicles, not just racing. But either way, it's going to get ready, and JJ does have all of the old brake stuff. So I'm going to go ahead, even though I didn't want it, mainly because it's like, well, I'm just going to transfer stuff and blah, blah, blah. Since I'm not going to run it, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the backing plates, everything, do all new hardware and the drums. And then I do have to put a line lock in the car anyway. So we're going to have everything ready to go. We're ready to make that swap. I'm thinking maybe in the fall when our racing season's over, we'll put this on there and we'll let the car eat. So either way, after yesterday's video, I had friends reach out to me and stuff, and one thing I didn't take into consideration was the bypass valve on the oil pump. So, and also shout out to Big Jer. If you guys are in the Oldsmobile world and you know the Oldsmobile calendar, that's his baby. That's who does it. That's who I got the oil pump from. I still have to paint his hood for him. So, Jerry, I haven't forgotten about you. I got that timing set in that oil pump that's in that 350 from him. So, Mr. Dave Worthington, in his infinite wisdom, shoots me a message on Messenger. We got a little group of guys, or we just shoot the shit. And he told me to make sure the bypass valve is good because he's seen them do weird shit. Anywhere from fluttering to randomly sticking or whatever the case is. So I ran the engine again today. The oil pressure was still the same cold, and it would ramp up. And the only reason I wanted to run it again was to make sure that I wasn't losing my oil pressure, because yesterday I ran the engine till it got to about like 210, which is normal running temp. It's a little hotter than what most guys would want on the street, but I also let it warm up without running the water pump. Until it warmed up, then I cycled everything. Then it settled in around like 200. So I let the oil get thin with heat and everything and make sure everything was good. And so with the engine running and everything hot, the oil pressure at idle was above 40, and it would still hit 80. So it was 20 pounds less than on what if it was cold, but obviously your viscosity changes. So either way, he suggested to me to just take the pump off, go through it, change a spring, whatever. I think I'm going to order up a brand new non-modified oil pump just to have. And hopefully maybe next week, maybe sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'll have some time to take it off the stand, put it on a regular engine stand, and check that out. Because, I mean, it runs good. Everything sounds good. I'm just really, really peeved that I have to drop that shit back off. Which, again, it's like, I don't want to, but I know what ultimately has to happen. So, obviously, that engine, it would run, but as soon as you get on it, you'd probably eventually would blow the oil filter apart or something. But we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the pan off of it and proceed with that crap. Just again, my time is kind of limited, which is kind of why I'm really pissed off, because I kind of wanted everything to kind of fall into place by March, and it sounds like really with the way everything's going, I just kind of have to abort plans as mentioned earlier. But it's no big deal. I'm not really like bummed out about that. It's just a realization and a reality. At least I got cars that I can enjoy, so it's not like a big problem. So either way, I wanted to give you guys this little teaser of this thing being cleaned up, prepped up. Yes, I could have probably done videos, but we've all cleaned parts and we've all painted parts. But this paint really does level off really good. You don't get many streak marks. I did get a bristle. I used some cheap chip brushes. But you know what? Once it's all painted, you ain't going to see that crap. All right, guys. So I did manage to get paint on it today. Maybe a little bit prematurely, but you know what? It's going to sit for a while. It'll eventually dry, and we'll touch it up once it's on the car. But when I told you guys about using like a red primer for abstract, you can definitely see the areas where we still need some color, like in between the bolt holes there. You know, there's like spots here on the brackets I didn't get. I didn't use the smaller chip brushes at this point. I just wanted to get it covered, let it fully dry, see how shiny this is going to be. And I might have to hit it with something with a little less gloss. If you guys remembered, the paint that I used for that, if you've been following along for a while, and the paint that I used for the firewall is a Duplicolor semi-gloss. It's almost like between a satin and a flat. It works really good, and that's how it looks. I really like that type of a sheen. It's not exactly matte or satin. It's a nice color. So I might buy one can of that and just fog this to give it that consistency. But you know, this is a cheaper alternative because I think I got $20. It was like they were on sale, 13 bucks a can. I barely used any. I could have bought the little tiny little half pints that they sell and probably done all of this with 2 little half pints, and it would have cost me $10 and then a $6 can, because canned paint is getting expensive. So I think it's like $6 or $7 a can. So once this dries, and I do got a little bit to clean up on the diff cover. There's a little schmutz from the RTV, and it did get a little paint there that seeped through, but it's no big deal. I wanted to just keep the major paint off of stuff. As you can tell, it looks great. We do know how to put lipstick on pigs around here. So, I know I already ended the other video, but I wanted to show you guys what it looked like, kind of finished. If you like this type of finish, I mean, this turned out really good. This paint levels off, and it's very thick. You're not supposed to thin it out, but it's very thick, and it's very globby, and it'll smooth out, and it'll look fantastic once it dries. But on that note, I'll let you guys go. Again, as always, share, like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass. I'll try to cut the back end of the last video so that way it doesn't, you don't get too like outros.